Yo, what is good, YouTube? It is your boy James, and I'm coming at y'all with another episode of the previewing and predicting series. And today, I'm coming at y'all with the Phoenix Suns, team that definitely had a disappointing end to their playoffs last season, and have had an interesting offseason so far. Before I get into it, like the fucking video. Holy man, I don't even care if you guys enjoy it anymore. Can y'all show the boys some love? Damn, show some young man some love. I'm just kidding, but I would really appreciate it if you guys could pop in and hit the like if you did enjoy it. But other than that, let's get into the Phoenix Suns and God, that's a lot of fan spell tabs. But I don't want to just talk about the roster real quick. Um, the Suns are a team that I think people are getting maybe a little too ahead of themselves. Um, I think this team is set to have a little bit of a down year, but you also have to remember this team won 64 games last year. They're not going to repeat that, so everyone slow down. Obviously, they're not going to be as good as they were last year. Most teams that win 64 games don't win 64 again. They were amazing in the regular season last year. Um, but this is a team I'm still kind of stuck in the middle about. Um, I do think Devin Booker tends to be one of the more kind of overrated, overhate or underrated, overhated type of players. I really like Devin Booker's game. I think Devin Booker is really a stud. I have him over a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who I think is also underrated. A lot of people don't like that take, but I think Devin Booker is the one as your team is a great sign. Um, but kind of talking about the roster, I think the main thing is the Chris Paul downfall, digression, and I do think he's 10 for some, but I also have to see it to believe it because guys like Chris Paul, even Kyle Lowry did experience some of it last year. Mike Conley, I need to see it, man. These guards are sticking around, they're doing their thing, and also I think this is a good enough team to where Chris Paul can have a lesser role. Chris Paul doesn't need to be. Obviously, it would be nice, right? But he doesn't need to be straight up prime Chris Paul, right? This is a roster that can definitely do with just a great floor general, great assist guy, hit his mid ranges. Um, Defensively, we'll have to see, right? I think that's where a lot of people are interested. But I have to see it to believe it. I'm being honest. I'm not convinced of it yet. He's been doing it for so long. I do think it's bound to happen to an extent, but I think Chris Paul is still going to be very good last year. I already talked about Devin Booker, amazing. Um, I do think he kind of got showed up in the playoffs, and I guess I'll talk about it now. I'm kind of interested to see what direction the Suns team goes because there's a lot of teams that get humbled and then they bounce back, right? And then there's some teams that get humbled, embarrassed like they did, and they kind of let it all fall apart. And I'm interested to see what happens here because I do think there's a world that this team is just really good next year. I'm not on the train of this is borderline playing team. No, I'm good, right? I haven't done my predictions yet, but I still think this is a really good team. The regular season seedings are going to be so interesting to me. I guess I'll have to do that for another video just because, there's a lot of good regular season teams in the West and the East as well, but, um, excuse me. Like I said, Devin Booker, I really like him. Um, Michael is a guy I'm very high on. I don't know if there's a next step there at this point. I know he's still very young, but I wonder if he's kind of hit his limit. And don't get me wrong, if he has, Michael's very great. I think he's he's like that third four option that you every team wants, really. Defends, he's gotten his shot making ability up a little bit, but he just does everything right, especially on the defensive end. I really like Michael. A lot of people, even myself at times, have really banked on this super high jump. And I do hope it's there, but at the same time, I wonder how much better can he get at this point. I could be wrong. Um, we'll talk about it in a sec, but Cam Thomas starting at the four. I believe it's Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson. If I got it wrong, I don't know. I can never get it right for some reason. But I really like him. I kind of the pick at the time, I'm not a draft guy, but it did get a lot of criticism, and then there was a lot of guys who I respect that were like, okay, this is good. Um, I'm glad that they're kind of letting him roll. He was an older rookie, I do know that, but from last year, I can't remember what game winner he hit, but he was so good down the stretch of that game. Um, So yeah, I like the idea of trading Jay Crowder. Although it is kind of on him too. It sounds like he wants to leave. But I like the idea of also starting a young guy because at the end of the day, I'm a big guy on every single year. If you're a bad team, like I don't know, I'm gonna just throw out the Wizards. I think you should always have ways that even though it might not be likely to continue to get better. And like the Wizards are a team like that when they have all their young wings. I think there's like I can't remember. Yeah, honestly, all three, the small forward, power forward, and center, can all get better, right? And can all get, although I don't think it's realistic, can all get better to a point that leads you back to where you were. I don't know if Cam Thomas's upside is really high like that, but I like the idea of him starting at the four. DeAndre Ayton at the five. I did want to show this Twitter clip real quick. My computer is kind of shitting itself, but you know, DeAndre Ayton, he doesn't seem super thrilled to be there, and I get it. I do. I get it from both sides, right? Because as the first overall picked over Luca, all those guys, like you do expect a little more, but I do think that he needs to get the ball to develop, and that's why I really loved the Pacers. I wish they wouldn't have matched that because I think him and Halliburton and him having a true number two role would have been hot. But it sounds like that's where they're going to try to go. I do like this roster, but I'm just worried that it's not there anymore. That loss really just took Aiton off, took maybe Chris Paul off the edge. That's kind of what I'm worried about. But I like Aiton. I think some people um think his upside is a little higher than I do. I think Aiton definitely has another leap, but I don't think he's ever going to be like if you told me over under half an all-star, I might take the under. I don't know if he'll ever be an all-star. But I do think he has a chance to get better. And I think this year, if they can't find a way for him to be the two, especially with Chris Paul getting this old, then it's a problem. Coming off the bench, there's not really a lot to talk about here because these are a lot of guys who have done it. Campaign, I don't really know how to feel about. They brought in Frank Jackson, Elfrid Payton, I'm pretty sure is still on the team. And I thought they brought in back one of the holidays. I can't remember off the top of my head. Shamit, a guy I really like, shooter. I mean, what else? Just does it. I like it. Torrey Craig, same sort of thing. Just does his role. And him and, I mean, Shamit's younger, obviously, but you know what Shamit and Craig are going to be, right? I left the backup power forward because I don't really know how to feel about Jay Crowder. And then Bismack at the backup center. We'll have to see, right? A couple of my trades have been getting centers. But I did want to get into the Jay Crowder situation. I get it from both sides. To me, I feel like Jay Crowder, like I don't know, right? I'm not in the office, but I feel like he's a little over his head here. I find it kind of funny. Like I'm an 18-year-old sitting on my couch, right? Sometimes I find it kind of funny that guys who I don't want to say Jay Crowder isn't great, but guys who are kind of just good role players have these super high expectations of them getting traded. Doesn't need to happen, right? And they don't get the leverage there because they're not these super big guys who are going to warrant a whole bunch back. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I do want to get into a couple of the trades. Now, I do want to say this is all just my opinion, and these aren't like what my final trades would be. These are just the rough sketches. One thing I do want to bring up is that I think Jay Crowder's value is a little higher than some people think. I don't know if he has an option, but this is a 32-year-old. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he's expiring. He might have an option that he would take, but he's a 32-year-old who's on a decent I don't know. It would depend. I should have researched if he's on expiring or not. It would really depend on if he's on expiring or not. You know what? Fuck it. Give me a second, guys. We'll pull up if Jay Crowder is expiring. I should have done that. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to restart the video because of it. Let's see. So he does. Yeah. So he's an expiring. So sorry. My point being, expiring contract, 32 years old. Why are we getting these young player first round picks out of? I don't know. You look at a guy like Jeremy Grant, who's expiring in his prime, although there's some ego things there. He went for a 2025 first. You look at Bojan, he just went for Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee. And I think he's better than Jay Crowder. So I think you guys need to pump the brakes a little bit on this Jay Crowder talk. For me, I really like the Blazers fit, and I think the Suns should kind of just try to get back players who do Jay Crowder type things. That being if they're better or worse, I don't know. But I think Justice Winslow can kind of, he's not as good as Jay Crowder, but I think he can kind of fill some similar roles as Jay Crowder. Drew Eubanks as a filler, and then Keon Johnson. I don't know if Portland would be willing to give up on Keon for Jay Crowder, but they would have to in this situation. I don't know if I would. As a Clippers fan, he's interesting to me. I don't know, but I think Portland getting a way to get Jay Crowder is very interesting to me. Um, Next up, I just have a Dwight Powell swap. They brought in JaVale McGee and Christian Wood and extended Kleba. And I do like Powell, but it's like if you could bring in a good wing like Jay Crowder, I get it. I've used your fucking website so many times, fans, but why are you telling me this now? I've done it so many times. But I think like this realistically is honestly a fair swap. Um, I think that Mavericks would definitely be willing to move off of Powell for a guy like Jay Crowder, and I think the Suns would be okay with getting an expiring contract right back with similar value to a certain extent. Now this one, I am gonna go to Twitter for an unbiased NBA fan. He's a Clippers fan. I'm pretty sure I follow him, so follow him if you find this trade interesting. I find this really interesting, and that being Torrey Craig, Jay Crowder, Cameron Payne for Mike Conley. Now, you are giving up kind of a lot of depth there, but I didn't put names in, but they have a decent amount. Like, I think they could get rid of Torrey Craig. You would obviously be replacing Campaign with Mike Conley and still be fine. The contract is interesting. You're bringing on another big contract and another aging point guard. But I think if you can get Mike Conley to be your sixth man, I don't know if they pulled this off, I would look at them. I would like them, man. I would look at them to an extent. The 2024 first, I don't know if they would have to give up because I don't think Conley's value is much either. I think they just look at this as, hey, we're getting off an extra year of Conley. We'll take back your campaign. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really think they would need to throw in the 2024 first, but I actually like this for the Suns. I think if the Suns could find a way to turn Jay Crowder, and it doesn't have to be Mike Conley, into a as productive player as Mike Conley, that would make them a lot better. So I don't know if they'd have to throw in the first. 2 seconds is my kind of theme of this. But I think that would be interesting. Now, when I was doing the Sixers, I kind of thought this would be a team that would really help from Crowder. But does Korkmaz, would they do Korkmaz and Thibault for Crowder? And for me, I would. I just think at this point, I really do like Matisse's defense, but I think at this point, you're the Sixers. You brought in Tucker, melted. Don't fuck off with this shit. I think bringing in another guy like Jay Crowder would really just make you scary. You would have a lot of good defenders on that team, and if you could roll a lineup of Jay Crowder and PJ Tucker on the floor at the same time, I would be pissed if the Clippers were playing the Sixers, I would fucking want to punch my TV because those guys could be very frustrating. And I think that just brings another locker room guy. So I think for the Sixers, this makes them a lot better. For the Suns, you're bringing back a great defender in Thibault. You're bringing back a shooter. Like I said, I don't think this Jay Crowder value is that big. Really don't. I don't think he has much value. And I think this is probably where they get best. And then the last one would just be flipping him for Danny Green. I don't like this idea as much because I don't think Green will play this year. And I do think the Suns should try to at least get back one piece that would, fit within their top 10. Now, if Green were to play, I would be perfectly fine with this. I just don't know if you is for the Grizzlies, you add another wing that fits your style. So I hope you guys did enjoy those trades. I thought, for a Suns video, let's try to pull up some interesting trades. But to kind of wrap up the video, it's really hard, right? Because for me, I look at the Suns and I say, does Ayton get better? Does Cam? I'm pretty sure it's Johnson Thompson. I don't fucking know. You know who I'm talking about. Does he get better? Does Michael get better? And that's where I think it all starts. And then Chris Paul's regression. For me, I still have them as like a 4 or 5 seed. I think it's very hard to replicate the 2 seasons they just had back to back when it comes to the regular season. So regular season wise, I think they're due for some digression, whatever the fuck it's called. Realistically, like, this team's hard to predict for the playoffs. I'm gonna do full and early playoff predictions bracket, which will be interesting. Um, but like, if you told me they were playing the Mavs again, I don't know. Like, if you told me they were playing the Grizzlies, like, I think a lot of people would pick the Grizzlies right away. I don't think it's that close. I'm gonna say second round exit with a good matchup. First round exit if they finish as the 7 seed. But I do think this is a playoff team, and I still think this is a team that, even as a Clippers fan, if we're playing the Suns in the first round, I'd be like, damn, this might be kind of tough. But other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy. Like I said, like the fucking video if you did. But other than that, you can always check out my Twitter in the description. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm an idiot. And then I'm going to start posting gaming stuff. So if you want to get into that when I start doing it, that'll be there too. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see y'all whenever the fuck I upload next.